So when you hear the name Tesla, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Electric cars, right? Well, the man behind that name, he's the real reason you can turn on a light, charge your phone, or even open your fridge. This is the story of a forgotten genius whose brilliant life, believe it or not, really begins with his tragic end.
Yeah, it's a little backwards, I know, but to really understand Nikola Tesla's extraordinary life, we've got to start at a pretty strange place, the tragedy of his death.
So picture this, room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. That's where they found him. Tesla died completely alone, surviving on just warm milk and crackers. He was broke, he was in debt, and really his only friends were the city pigeons that he was obsessed with feeding every day.
I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest inventors in history. This is the man who literally electrified our modern world. And yet, he just faded into total obscurity.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How does a mind that changed everything we know end up with absolutely nothing? Well, that's the mystery we're going to unravel, and it is a fascinating and ultimately a really tragic story.
To find the answer, we have to hit rewind. We're going to go all the way back to the very beginning, to his birth in what is now Croatia, way back in 1856.
You know, his life was just extreme, right from the get-go. He was born during a lightning storm. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He saw his own brother die, a trauma that haunted him for the rest of his life. He almost died from cholera and only pulled through when his dad finally promised to let him study engineering instead of forcing him to become a priest. But even then, his path was all over the place. He dropped out of college, got hooked on gambling, and for a while just completely vanished from his family's life.
And get this, there's a family legend from the night he was born. The midwife, seeing the crazy storm outside, said he'd be a child of darkness. But his mother, Duca, she looked at him and said, no, he will be a child of light. She had no idea just how right she would be.
Tesla's mind was just wired differently. He would have these intense visions, these blinding flashes of light that would blur the line between what was real and what was in his head. He could build, test, and perfect entire inventions completely in his imagination before ever picking up a single tool. He had a photographic memory, thanks to his mom, spoke 8 languages, and could solve ridiculously complex calculus problems in his head. His intellect was just on another level.
And yet, with all that incredible brain power, when he finally got to America to chase his dreams, this is all he had to his name: 4 cents. That's it. His money and tickets were stolen on the boat ride over. But he had something way more valuable than money. He had an idea. And this idea was about to start a war against the most famous inventor in America, Thomas Edison. A war that would decide the future of electricity itself. Okay, so the big fight was all about AC versus DC. Edison was the champion of direct current, DC, which only flows in one direction. It's fine for small things, but it's terrible at traveling long distances. Tesla's big idea was alternating current, or AC, where the current switches direction back and forth. This let him send huge amounts of power safely across vast distances. So, to put it simply, DC can power a flashlight, AC can power a city. Edison knew AC was a major threat to his DC empire. And let me tell you, he fought dirty. He secretly paid for the development of the first electric chair, making sure it used his rival's AC power just to link it with death in people's minds. He held these horrifying public shows where he'd electrocute stray dogs and cats. He even filmed the electrocution of Topsy, a circus elephant, all to scare the public into thinking AC was this deadly monster. But in the end, good science won. Tesla teamed up with an industrialist named George Westinghouse, and they outbid Edison to light up the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. For the 27 million people who saw it, it must have looked like pure magic. This was the moment that proved AC was the future. Then they sealed the deal by building the first ever hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls, winning the war of currents for good.
So this should have been it, right? The start of an unbelievable career. Tesla had won. He was famous. But this is where the story takes a really dark and really tragic turn.
And it's so important to remember that his path was never easy. Even before he partnered with Westinghouse after his first company failed, this was his wage. $2 a day digging ditches just to eat. The man had resilience, for sure, but his luck was about to run out. This number, wow. This tells you everything you need to know about the man. When his partner, Westinghouse's company, was about to go under, Westinghouse begged Tesla to just reduce his royalty payments. Instead, out of pure loyalty to the man who believed in him, Tesla ripped up their contract.
He just walked away from what would be worth over $300 million today. He just let it go.
And after that, the hits just kept on coming. In 1895, a fire completely destroyed his lab. Years of research just gone up in smoke. Then, Guglielmo Marconi uses 17 of Tesla's patents to send the first radio signal across the Atlantic. And then the U.S. Patent Office, probably because of some financial pressure, just reverses its decision and hands the patent for radio to Marconi. That loss of credit made his financial backers pull out of his biggest dream, the Wardenclyffe Tower, a global wireless system that would have changed everything. It left him in total financial ruin.
And this is just a peek at how much was lost. We know him for AC power, but his genius was so much bigger than that. The Tesla coil, remote controls. He demonstrated a remote-controlled boat in 1898 that made the crowd think he was using magic. He was a pioneer in X-ray imaging, he was working on neon lighting, a bladeless turbine. I mean, on every single front, he was decades ahead of his time.
Which brings us all the way back to that lonely hotel room. And the question we started with, why? Why did he die like this?
After everything he gave to the world, this was his net worth when he died? Zero. Nothing. In fact, he was actually in debt.
And the answer, when you really get down to it, is simple. Nikola Tesla wasn't driven by money. Unlike Edison, he wasn't a capitalist. Tearing up that $300 million contract proves it. He had one focus and one focus only, using science to help humanity. That's it.
And you know what? He absolutely succeeded. Every single time you plug something into a wall socket, you are using the system he dreamed of and fought for. His vision, his alternating current, is the invisible force that powers our entire modern world.
So in the end, his mother was right. The boy who was born in a lightning storm became the man who harnessed that lightning. He was, and he will always be, a child of light.
It really leaves you with a final, lingering thought. Tesla gave humanity the future, but it cost him absolutely everything. And it makes you wonder, what is the true price of a genius who cares more for innovation than for a paycheck?